How we doing, everybody? Happy New Year. Happy 2022. I am Jeff Hoke here with Chris Henrique and Kevin Perdios here for another episode of Shorthanded Takes, a Boston Bruins podcast, episode 13 to be exact, brought to you by Couch Guys Sports and sponsored by Shocked Energy and Echo Gun. Shocked Energy, ever feel unable to focus, tired, or low on energy? We understand that feeling. We understand it so well that Couch Guys Sports and Boston Shorthand Takes podcast is brought to you by the Couch Guys Sports Network and sponsored by our friends at Shocked Energy. Head over to shockedenergy.com and use promo code CGSN today for 10% off. Once again, I'm Jeff Hoke here with Kevin Perdios and Chris Henrique. Happy New Year, guys. We took a little time off for the holiday season, but we're back. Apparently, the NHL took a little holiday break too, like they were supposed to, but they also took a COVID break with that as well. So we didn't miss much in between the weeks that we took off, but we're back now. The new year started well for the Boston Bruins, 3-0 to start the year, finishing off a win today. Right before we came on, David Pastrnak netted the game-winning goal 4-3 over the New Jersey Devils, shorthanded New Jersey Devils team. Kevin, you watched some of that game. I'll go to you on that. Just what we saw a lot of good things out of that game. I thought I know it was the New Jersey Devils, but we saw we saw some good things out of that game.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. We saw some good things out of that game. I think I'll try to swallow my Boston sports pride here of we have to play better against teams that are below 500. The fact that it comes down to the final 5 minutes and we're clinging to a 1-goal lead, or even I think we might have even been tied at that point. You come into the second period, you're up 3-1. You should have kind of ran away with it. You had them on the ropes and you should have buried them. Instead, we allowed 2 breakaway goals, and you allow them to kind of claw their way back into it, where a team like New Jersey, you need to bury. You need to put them away, especially if you're going to be contending for a playoff spot here in the next month or so. So yeah, good overall. Win's a win. Bottom line, a win's a win, and this team right now definitely needs that. So not going to harp on it too much, but you see what when you get a little puck luck, things start going your way. I think maybe 4 out of those 5 goals were kind of how the hell did those things go in? But
yeah.
We'll take it, and a win's a win.
I think Mackenzie Blackwood was wondering how some of those goals went in too. That man was just utterly baffled on the Trent Frederick goal and the Oscar Steen goal, which basically looked like a Michigan Zegras goal.
I mean, you can see what bad goaltending can do to a team, though. You know what I mean? Like that's just talk about. You got to be better as a goalie on Blackwood's end. The Pastrnak goal in the 5th one. It's like, you got to.
The 5th one was just disgusting.
Yeah, you can't. These second chance opportunities and all that are going to kill any team. So that's why I think New Jersey now is 2 or 3 games below 500. So I bet you if you go back and look, goaltending is a big reason for that.
And I will say they were missing some key players in Nico Hershier and Dougie Hamilton, who was now out for an extended period of time due to a broken jaw that he's having surgery on tomorrow. So we did not get the Dougie Hamilton reunion that we wanted. Even if
no one wanted that.
Yeah, no one wanted that anyway. But I'm just saying it's at the TD Garden. He played for the Bruins. So anytime someone comes back, it is it's a reunion kind of thing. Oscar Steen though has looked well. I believe he has a point in each of 4 out of his 5 games that he has played with the Bruins so far this season. Scored his first NHL goal today against the New Jersey Devils on a disgusting goal. I don't even know how that went in at any point whatsoever. And I know Chris was working today, so he didn't get to see it. And I hope he does get to see it because the whole thing was just baffling. Chris, did you get to see it or not?
No, I only got that small little GIF that was tweeted from the account.
Yeah.
All that I was able to see on that goal.
Yeah, no, it was an interesting goal, to say the least. Chris, I'll go to you really quick. I'm sure you saw highlights of the Sabres and Red Wings game. Red Wings games, they dominated that Red Wings game 5-1, and they were able to squeak past the Sabres. What was your takeaway from those two games, on your end?
I just think it's the overall balance of scoring. And I think before we took our little time off for the holidays, and the biggest thing we talked about was just getting some scoring from a line other than the first line, and they're getting secondary scoring. It's been pretty balanced, really, since they've come back from the COVID timeout that they've had. So it's been nice to see, that the Bees are getting production from a lot of different spots, like I said, other than that first line. And I think the shakeup of the lines has helped that out too. Having, when Smith gets shifted up to the first line, Hollow is on that second line. I think Coyle looks a hell of a lot better, just strictly being a third line guy. He just looks more comfortable there. But yeah, I just think that, they're getting scoring, balanced scoring. And I think the goaltending has been better. And I think that we'll probably talk about it a little bit later on. But I think that there's the reason why the goaltending is getting better. There's someone looming in the shadows. So
there's
but
the Dark Knight
Funny how
looming in the
things can
shadows.
happen when you get a little bit of a competition, huh? Suddenly, like,
Imagine
oh
that.
shit, I might not have a job in a few weeks from
I
now.
mean, you turn to baseball really quick. Bobby Delbick, when Kyle Schwarber came in, that dude just started hitting bombs once Schwarber started to come back. So, I mean, it's amazing what competition does. And we talked about, Chris mentioned it. We will go into that now. The shifting of the lines going into the new year, and they dabbled with it a little bit before Christmas and before they got shut down, but they are now looking quite balanced with the first two lines. Now they, like Chris said, they moved Craig Smith up to that first line with Bergeron and Marchand, dropped Pasternak down to that second line with Holla and Hall. Pasternak scored a goal today, obviously, that go-ahead goal. And then on that third line, you have Steen, DeBrusk on the COVID list right now. So you have Steen, Lazar I'm sorry, not Lazar's on the fourth line, but Steen and Coyle on that third line. So Kevin, I'll go to you. The bright spot out of today I saw, other than, the balance scoring on the first three lines, was that fourth line. And that was something that's really struggled lately. You saw Curtis Lazar get a goal, first goal of the game. You saw Brandon Carlo get a goal at the end of that game. It was good to see that fourth line get going a little bit today.
Yeah. We've talked in the past about kind of, I think one of the last episodes I said, this team needs to find their identity and figure out who they want to be. And, seeing that fourth line come back and kind of be that energy line, for lack of a better word, is nice to see. They played hard, physical hockey, and threw a lot of pucks on net, and we got some good bounces. And so it's nice to see that fourth line coming back. And Chris hit it earlier when he said, this reshuffling of the lines, I think is a move that helped that fourth line as well. And, you get a couple of new faces and everyone's a little bit more energized. So hopefully they can carry this for the next couple of weeks, because next week's schedule or later this week's schedule is going to get pretty tough.
I want to throw you guys a hypothetical here, because we've talked about this with Jake DeBrusk is on COVID list right now, but there have been, trade rumors out there about him. And the main team right now that is surrounded with him is the Edmonton Oilers. And no, I'm not saying McDavid straight up for, DeBrusk, as fair as that would be. Draisaitl too, we could do that. But Kayla Yamamoto, I think I said that right. Yamamoto is the apparently the rumored piece that would come back to Boston. And before we get into any goalie talk, I want to just discuss this for a second. Would he fit better on that set? Kayla were to come in, would he be one to Chris? Would he be one to replace the DeBrusque on the third line, or would you move him up to the second line?
My thing glitched just for a second. Who was the player we talked about?
Kayla Yamamoto.
I don't know. I mean, like when I looked at his numbers, I'm not like overly impressed. He's a former first round pick. I mean, then again, who isn't on the Edmonton Oilers that isn't a former first round pick? Because that team's, they've drafted pretty high over the last handful of years. So, I don't know. Like, to me, I'm a little underwhelmed with the Yamamoto piece. I mean, again, I think, we talked about in our group chat a little bit of ways back saying that the Bruins have a lot of leverage and a lot of opportunity here to try to maximize Jake DeBrusque. But to me, why not just continue to see what you have in Oscar Steen? And Jake DeBrusque can pound sand for a little bit as far as I'm concerned. I mean, like, yeah, I want to make 20 grand more a year. I can go to my boss and what's he going to tell me or whatever. Like, we can all demand things in life. Doesn't mean you're going to get what you want. You know what I mean? So I think DeBrusque should just kind of ride it out with his situation, or just pull an Antonio Brown and you know what I mean? Like, rip the jersey and pads and skate off the ice.
I would love to see that.
I don't know. I'm underwhelmed.
I think
I'm just underwhelmed with the Yamamoto.
No, definitely. And I could just picture. I feel like it's harder to get a hockey jersey off than it is a football jersey, with everything underneath you. So just trying to see,
especially with that, the fighting straps.
The fighting strap. Just trying to see someone just rip everything off on the ice and just skate off would just be just so entertaining. I kind of want to see Antonio Brown do that now. I kind of want to see him in a hockey jersey for a day.
That's I don't know who's like the Antonio Brown of the NHL. Evander Kane. All right, I guess that's a good one. But I don't know on this Yamamoto. I quickly, I guess a lot of my friends are big Bruins fans too. So once I got reports of that, I sent it to them and said, what do you think? And one of them kind of put it perfectly. It's like, you got two guys who just need to change your scenery. Like DeBrusque wants out. Yamamoto obviously needs a change of scenery. Combine that with like what Chris said is, if this dude doesn't want to be here, and, not going to say he's going to quit. But if DeBrusque doesn't want to be here, and you can have a guy that, like Chris said, was a first round talent, or supposedly should have been a first round talent. Maybe you do bring him in and you have a combination of allowing Steen to do what, figure out what Steen is, and stick Yamamoto wherever the hell you want, because you don't know that guy anything, and who knows, maybe he provides some energy for the third line. And then when Steen slows down, you just swap the two. I don't know. But, on the playing devil's advocate here, they also said this is a guy that has somehow done really nothing with Connor McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yeah.
So what the hell are you hoping for when he comes in and plays with Tweedledee and Tweedledum, on the third line and fourth line?
Yeah.
It's good things to look at. I wrote an article weeks back now saying, screw it, keep DeBrusque. Screw it. Like Chris said, you don't owe this dude anything. He wants to trade, so what? I want a job that pays me $1 million a year. Like, it doesn't mean I'm gonna get it. So screw it. Like, DeBrusque isn't gonna give up because he knows he has to play for a contract. So while we may not hold all the cards, we hold something. In the back of his mind, if he's not going to get dealt, he's playing for a contract, so he's got to put up points if he wants to go somewhere.
And isn't he a restricted free agent again at the end of the season, DeBrusque?
Oh, I thought he was unrestricted.
I think he's unrestricted.
Hang on,
I could be wrong. I thought he was unrestricted.
Yeah, go ahead and look that up. I want to mention something really quick. And so you're gonna really see what Yamamoto here is going to be made of, with Connor McDavid going on the COVID list, tested positive today, I think he was. So you'll have Leon Draisaitl move up to that, first line center. Probably Yamamoto will move up into that second line now and be the anchor of that second line. And that's going to be a big move for him because he's on the third. He is still on the second line, but I mean, he's going to be the focal point of that second line now. And, you're going to, for a first round pick, you're going to finally probably see what he can do without a McDavid and without a Draisaitl, because he's not going to have Draisaitl there to baby him now. So, Chris, what'd you find out?
Yeah, so according to capfriendly.com, he's a restricted free agent.
Oh.
There's no hurry to trade him.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Yeah.
And at the very least, you can ride out the rest of the season with DeBrusque and let him go into free agency, let him find his contract and get the compensation back then, get the draft picks back then. If that's really what they want.
Yeah.
Again, unless they find a player that they think they can bring in here. Again, if they think that Yamamoto is the guy, great.
Yeah.
I'm underwhelmed. Just looking at from a straight statistical standpoint, and you made a good point. He's played with some of the premier talent in the NHL up in Edmonton. Now, over the last week, he's produced a little bit. So is the potential there? Yes, but there's still potential there with Jake DeBrusque.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. He's the only real piece of that draft class that developed into anything, and I just hate to see them just give up on him. Again, you're getting a first-round talent back in Yamamoto, but Nick Ritchie was a first-round talent too, and you know what I mean. And so,
hey,
when the first round don't mean anything.
When Ritchie was on that first line, though, he was pretty goddamn good in Toronto. let's not forget. I think Andre Kasha is going off too up there now, because when you leave Boston, apparently you do better now. But that being said, I want to move on to the next aspect, because this one's going to take a few minutes to talk about, and that is the elephant in the room. Obviously, the goalie situation is about to get a little muddy. He hasn't signed a contract yet. Tuuka Rask has been practicing, and we talked about this before we went out our holiday break. But he is practicing now, and he's starting to ramp it up a little bit more by the day. And whenever he signs his contract, he's going to be going down to Providence for I think they said 6 games, something like that. And he will.
Providence down?
No, he'll be just sent down to Providence is what I meant to say.
Oh,
no,
I don't know, like if things glitching here because I just got the Wi-Fi to come back up, or all right.
Yeah, it's probably just me. It's 10:30 at night, and I'm tired. But so now you're gonna have Linus Ullmark, Jeremy Swayman, and possibly Tuuka Rask at your disposal now. Both have been playing well for Linus and Jeremy Swayman. Swayman gave up 1 goal against Detroit on the last game before today. And obviously we saw Linus Ullmark give up 3. So given those were on breakaway goals, it's a little bit harder, but still you should be able to get some of those. That's besides the point though. I'm going to go to Chris on this one first, and then I'll go to Kevin. But what is the ideal situation, Chris? Would it be, obviously you're not going to trade, or maybe you're not. Obviously you're not going to trade Linus Ullmark. You might. You're not going to trade Jeremy Swayman. That's the number one thing. I don't think you're going to trade Jeremy Swayman. But is Linus Ullmark a possibility? We talked about this. Is Linus Ullmark a possibility for a trade, possibly packaged with Jake DeBrusque?
No, it's a fun thought to think that maybe he could be involved in this, right? He has a limited where they get limited like movement within his contract. So if they were going to trade him, he's going to have to sign off on being traded. So I don't think that realistically it's going to happen, but I mean, Edmonton makes a lot of sense. Edmonton needs a goaltender. They have 33-year-old Mike Smith, who is coming off of being on injured reserve or whatever.
He's a hot mess right now too.
They have him. They have the dude that, and I can't even pronounce his name, but the goaltender that was starting
Kalkin Nyman or something like that.
Yeah, him too. So like their goaltending situation, they have old goaltending right now. Now they have some younger guys within the program, but they're not ready. Reportedly, they had interest in Ullmark during the offseason as well, but obviously the Bruins were able to link up and get him signed. So on the surface, yes, it makes some sense. But here's the thing. Edmonton doesn't have the cap space. Edmonton's got to figure out how they're going to fit Smith back onto their roster. I think as of like a handful of days ago, they had about 900 and like some odd $1,000 underneath the cap. So we'll just round up, call it $1 million. They got to fit Smith under the cap. Who are you going to take back to absorb Olmark's salary? And I looked at their roster and I just don't see a match. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Obviously not a professional general manager of a hockey team, but I just, for me, I don't see them being a dance partner right now. And on top of it too, I'm just curious, like what's Boston going to do? Because they don't have a hell of a lot of cap space either. And I know, Rask isn't looking for, a way to break the bank here, but what does that money look like for Tuuka Rask for the rest of the season? So, I think there's a portion of the fans that'd like to see Ullmark go in a deal. I think ultimately we give him the full season, see where things kind of lie, see if he can maybe, get hot. But I don't know. I just don't see it. I know I wrote something on it, but it was really towards the end of it. I put in there basically what I just said is I don't see it as a match.
So before I toss it up to you, Kevin, with that being with what everything you just said, do you expect them to keep all three on an NHL roster, or do you see Swayman going back down to Providence?
I think Swayman goes down. I would want to. At the end of the day, you'd rather have Ullmark and Rask be your 1-2 punch, and let Swayman play. It's kind of like MLB. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't want to call a prospect up just to have him sit on the bench. So send them down so they can get their repetition and swings. So send down Swayman, let him get regular playing time, regular ice time. So that way, if anything, you're going to need the depth behind Tuuka. Just because Tuuka's coming back, it isn't a slam dunk that he's, like he's just coming off major hip surgery. Yes, is he healthy and clear to come back? Sure, but we haven't seen him in real game time action yet. So having that depth within the system is what Boston's going to need. Send Swayman down, and if Rask struggles, you still have your depth there. I that's why I don't think just jumping the gun and trying to trade an Ullmark or anything like. I don't think we can put our eggs into one basket with Tuuka Rask just yet. He hasn't shown us anything that he's able to play beyond with post the surgery.
Okay, so that being said, Kevin, I'll go up to you now. What is your take on this whole goalie situation? With obviously, I know your take on you think Swayman's going to go down, and that makes the most sense at this point. And it might kill his confidence a little bit, but it's what's probably best for the team this year. This is probably Tuukka's last year, most likely. So see how he does, and then Swayman will be up next year. So what is your take, and what is your fixture to this goalie situation?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of all of what we just said. Ideally, the way I would look at it, a team like Edmonton is a solid trade partner, and you probably put a guy like Ullmark in there to hopefully. I don't want to say boost trade value, but boost trade value. But at the same time, it's kind of like, how are you going to work this money wise? How are you going to work it cap wise? What's Tuuka's number at? So there's a lot of moving parts that go on to it. And really what I come back to is kind of what Chris said, a minute ago, was just, we don't know what he looks like. Like, part of what makes Tuuka Rask so great is how quick his reflexes are, how quick he's able to pick up the puck, how quick he's able to, shoot that pad out on the last second redirection. It's not like he had shoulder surgery or he had a hip surgery. That's a pretty big surgery for a goalie. So even if this guy is a half second slower, that's a pretty big difference in the National Hockey League. Now all of a sudden maybe he's not that elite caliber goalie again anymore. Maybe he's just a solid, good goaltender. And at that point, it's kind of like, well, okay, we have two maybe a little like solid goaltenders, but they're, Rask will probably be better. we just don't know. We don't know what he looks like. We don't know how he's recovering from this injury. From all reports out there, it's good, and he looks healthy, and he looks like he's able to play. But at the same time, conspiracy theory here. How do we know this isn't the team leaking this to see what they get out of the two of them? How do we know the team's not saying, yeah, oh yeah, Rask is coming. Absolutely. Yep, here he comes, guys. You better be ready. Not they've obviously seen him at practice, so there's some loopholes in that. But what if another avenue, just sitting here talking about it, what if they sign Rask to a deal that allows him to kind of go down to Providence and get his quote unquote rehab stints in? And now, next thing you know, instead of a move being made a week or two from now, it's a month from now or a month and a half from now. And, I think within it, there's avenues to explore. So, ultimately, Rask will be back. I think he will be obviously in Boston. He's not going to be down in Providence, but I think there's some avenues to keep your options open, keep your eyes open, and see how they really handle this.
So I'll put my 2 cents in here. So Tuuka Rask, I do believe will be back, and he will go down to Providence for two to 4 games, most likely, just for a rehab stint, just to, the biggest question is, like Kevin said, how will he handle the situation, coming back? How is that, how is that quickness now in the net with that hip? Because for a goalie, the hip is the biggest aspect of being a goalie. Is you got to be able to swing your hips, you got to be able to do the butterfly, whatever you need to do to stop the puck. Now I'm gonna make a comparison here. We saw Ben Bishop of the Dallas Stars attempt to make a comeback this year. Now he had a knee issue, and we saw him make a rehab start, and then gave up 8 goals in that game. 8 goals. And a week later, they put him on the long-term retirement list. He's gonna finish out his contract and all that stuff. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen to, I'm not saying this is going to happen to Tuuka Rask, but there was a possibility that, the hip is not where it needs to be at a point where you don't feel comfortable with playing him all the time now. Now you could try to pull a, Kucherov and, hold him out until the playoffs and, somehow win the Stanley Cup still with that team. But it's an interesting scenario, and that's why it's so nice to have someone like a Jeremy Swayman to be able to slide in there just in case something like that does happen to Tuuka Rask, because you never know. Like I said, with the hip, the most important piece to the goalie is the hip, and if anything is wrong with the hip, anything's bothering you, man, it's gonna suck.
Yeah, it's the hip is the Tommy John for a pitcher. You know what I mean? Like it's next thing you know, your arm goes out. How do you recover? Yeah, now it's Tommy John's common in baseball, but it's just that's the hips are your thing. If they weren't that important, everyone would be an elite NHL goalie.
And it's the hips and the knees, and we saw with Julian Edelman, the knee issue forced him into retirement. We saw it with Ben Bishop. The knee issue forced him into retirement. Like I said, I'm not saying that's going to happen to Tuuka Rask, but it's something you got to keep an eye on with the hip. And that's the biggest thing about going. That's the biggest thing I like about having him be able to go down to Providence for 3 or 4 games and get some work in to try to maneuver himself to get that hip ready to go before he's got to face the NHL level caliber players. And so for 4 or 5 games, but yeah, in the end, I do believe Jeremy Swayman is going to end up going down here, get some playing time down there, make himself a little bit better. And then, his time's going to come. He's the future goalie of the Boston Bruins, and his time's going to come.
The amount of times that you guys kept saying the word hip, I just got Shakira in my head the whole time.
Your hips
Hips
don't lie.
Entire time. That's all. That's literally been in my head now for the.
You want to sing the whole song for us, or are you gonna?
Maybe I'll tweet something about it.
Your hips don't lie.
Hips,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
It's all in the hips.
It's
all.
It's all in the hips down in there. Being a goalie, dude. The hips and the knees, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, man. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Would that be
on Spotify, right? We can play her song. We can play her song if it's on Spotify, but you won't be able to play it if it's on. We can't put it on it if it's on Apple.
correct? We go to jail for that. I'm blaming you too. You're the one going to jail. Just saying.
Well, that's fine. Maybe we can. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna reach out to Shakira, see if we can get her on a segment. The most.
Just have her sing. That's it. We don't ask her any questions. Just come on, sing that line or two, and get out of here.
It'll be the halftime show. We'll do a halftime show one of these times. We'll do an hour show. 30 minutes in, we'll do a halftime show of just Shakira, singing for us and the viewers. Anyway, the hips don't lie. I'm just saying. What?
That's how we're gonna get YouTube viewership.
Yeah, that's the only way.
Yeah, that's true.
That's how you get that baby. That's how you shoot those babies right up with the viewership aspect of YouTube. Let's go on upcoming schedule. Kevin mentioned it earlier. It's not an easy schedule coming up for the rest of the week. They got to face Thursday. They will host the Minnesota Wild. Saturday they will then head to Tampa Bay, and then on Monday before we return for our next episode, they will be at Washington. The two main games there are obviously Tampa Bay and Washington. Washington was supposed to play today against Montreal. That was postponed due to the Canadian restrictions, and Tampa Bay won 7-2 today. So, Chris, tough schedule coming up. What's the chances? So obviously, you're probably going to see Swayman on Thursday, so you'll most likely see Linus for Saturday. Out of those two games, which one is the better chance of winning? Out of those two conference games with Tampa and Washington, what's the chances of? Which one do you think? Which one do you think they'll have a better chance of winning, or do you think they could sweep it?
I don't think they're gonna sweep. I think if you had to if I had to choose which one I'd like to see out of the two teams, I'd love for them to be Washington. Just more of that's I think more of like a mental side of it to continue to show they can play against the Capitals. Depends too. I think the first thing is you have to be Minnesota. They have to get that W there, because what you don't want to do is go down and lose that game, and then already in your next three games, you come out of that 1-2 after starting 3-0 since coming back. Doesn't set them up for success. I think if they can finish that out 2-1, get a victory against Minnesota, get it against Washington, and just play scrappy hockey against the Lightning and maybe try to steal one. But I don't. I just think for me, and mentally, I'd like to see them just continue to show that they can hang and play tough hockey against Washington.
So, Kevin, while I look this up, what is your obviously Braden Point is back for Tampa Bay. He had a goal today for them and a couple of assists. So they're getting stronger now. What is your take on these next three games coming up?
Yeah, I think it starts with Minnesota. Don't sleep on them. I know they're struggling right now. I think they've lost 5 straight. Last time I looked at it, 5 or 6 straight maybe, but they're still a very good team. They're looking at their record now, they're 19-10. So that's pretty good. That's kind of similar to what the Bruins are. So you can't really sleep on Minnesota. But with the other two following that, once you got to go in and take care of Minnesota, you got to get that first one out of the way. Get out of the gate coming 4-0. That would be huge. Then you roll into Tampa and Washington. Those are tough teams. And I think similar to how Chris said, you want to show that you can continue to beat Washington and play with a legit playoff team. But, I think Tampa's still Tampa. Everyone has them kind of as, all right, they're going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. They're going to be in the Stanley Cup. They're going to whatever. They have them as kind of the cream of the crop. So it'd be nice to see. All right, where do we stand? How do we stack up against these guys? I do think we steal one of these. I think you come out of this hopefully 2-1. But this is a tough stretch and goes back to it's a good time to see how these lines really hold up against some very solid very solid teams. And then the goaltending aspect, where do we stand? Where do those two stand against top talent? These are teams you're going to run into down the stretch and even into the playoffs if you get there. How do you stack up against them? How do you perform? How do you rise to the occasion? So long-winded answer short, I think they take care of Minnesota first, and then hopefully you shock the world and pull one of these out against Washington and Tampa. I don't think you sweep. That'd be fool's gold if you swept. But
It'd be nice, but I
Be fantastic.
yeah, again, if we're getting on this, if we're recording next week and we somehow went 3-0 and we're coming out of the gate 7-0, that's man, that might change everything. But
Yeah.
at the same time, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're a solid team, borderline playoff team, but we're not Washington. We're not Tampa. We gotta show up and show that, hey, we can play with the big boys and take care of business.
So you're saying you'd be shocked. So just like Shocked Energy, which is sponsored by Couch Guys, sponsors Couch Guys Sports and us over here at Shorthanded Takes the Boston Bruins podcast. Head over to shockedenergy.com and use the promo code CGSN today for 10% off your order. I kind of want to, before we close things up here, I'm looking at the standings right now. Bruins are gaining ground some. Red Wings were winning last time I checked, last 7-2, I think it was, or something like that. So the Bruins currently have 1 point lead on the Red Wings right now. I believe 36 points. Yep, Red Wings have 35. Maple Leafs are next ahead of them with 44 points. And then obviously you have the Lightning and the Panthers there. So they're gaining ground. And obviously this upcoming 4 games, like you guys said, is pivotal for, gaining ground here, especially against the Lightning. Capitals sit in the second in the Metro. They are currently at 20-6, while the Rangers sit in first at 22-8. The Rangers got a big win over Edmonton yesterday. Got 2 points out of that one. And obviously Carolina is still Carolina. And then you got to look at the Blues over in the Western Conference. Blues are surprising this year, even though Jordan Binnington is a bitch. I will always say that Jordan Binnington is a bitch. I don't know if you guys saw the game, the Winter Classic game, where it was like -7 degrees at puck drop. And, all the Blues players came off the bus in beachwear, shorts and like beach shirts. And then you had Jordan Binnington coming off like you looked like a James Bond villain coming off the beach. And, I know Chris doesn't like him either, I don't think. And I know Kevin doesn't like him. So this is a Jordan Binnington hate stan account now as well.
Even his stick around that earlier in the season when he was trying to hit the dude with the stick.
He's something else. And so we have them. Just another. Let's go down a couple Western Conference teams. The Predators are, Kevin, are on a hot. They've won one, but they've been pretty decent lately. That first line of Granlund and Philip Forsberg have been quite electric lately, coming off the COVID list.
Yeah, the Predators I like them a lot. Kind of low key kept an eye on them. I don't know why. I've always wanted, Nashville to kind of get a deep playoff run, championship run.
They almost had it that one year.
I know, and Nashville's a fun city. So if it somehow ever worked out where it's Bruins Nashville, that might be a trip that has to be made by by yours truly. So
Well, Chris knows Nashville quite well.
yeah.
I'm planning to go back to Nashville. I like to go I want to say I'm aiming for like March.
Yeah. Nashville's fun, man. Nashville's a fun place to be. And if my skills were up to NHL talent, I think Nashville's a team I would want to go play. Go play for, because that nightlife can be a lot of fun.
I mean, and they have Roman Josi, and Roman Josi is one of the most electric players in the league defensively. Obviously, Cale Makar being number one. And funny enough, so we talked about the Wild already. They're 19-10. They sit in third in the Central Division, and then cap it off with the Avalanche in the Central Division. They've been up and down this season. Obviously, they've struggled with a lot of key injuries and COVID issues, like every team has. And then you have the Golden Knights in the Pacific Division, Chris. They seem to be back to where they were a couple of years ago. They're dominant every year, but they seem to be more dominant than usual this year.
Yeah, I mean they're playing good hockey, and just imagine what they're going to be like once what's his lips there?
Eichel.
Thank you, Jesus.
What's his lips? Never heard that one before.
once they get Eichel in that lineup too. No, I mean Vegas has always had a good team. They're what the Seattle Kraken should have tried to strive for.
Oh my God, talk about it.
I mean, the Kraken and the Coyotes they're gonna be, first off, the Coyotes don't even know where they're gonna be playing, let alone so.
That's a different conversation for.
I think the bigger thing though is right now is that the Canucks are playing so well.
Yes, that was my they sit right in front of the Kraken right now.
They do.
I just looked this. I'm just seeing this. Every team in the Pacific besides the Kraken's over 500.
Yes.
Wow, I didn't notice that. That's a solid division.
Yeah, they got put in a crappy division with updated they really cracked down on the expansion draft because of what happened to the Golden Knights and how dominant they were in their first year. They wanted to bring it back.
Look how you crack down on it, but also look how fun Golden Knights were. You know what I mean? When you first came in, you're like, wow, this seems kind of fun to watch. New team, new city. The Kraken, the division speaks for itself, but they had no intentions of contending for a half decent team as that draft went along. Everyone with half a brain saw what they were doing. And it's like, dude.
I mean, the first pick was a Boston Bruins player that barely played. Kraken was. I mean,
what is going on? What are we doing here? And so you knew right from that first pick that they're tanking for.
Well,
the first round.
They're not as bad as the Coyotes, who like Chris said, don't know where they can be playing next year.
Wins.
Where?
The Coyotes have 6 wins.
6-21 as I'm looking at right now. 15 points in their division. Kraken have 24 points and they have 10 wins. So Canucks have really stepped it up a lot since their coach stepped down, and they picked up their bench coach stepped in. They've really picked it up. So the Golden Knights, who are playing the Predators as we speak, that game just dropped puck a few minutes ago. The Ducks, who have still been a surprise team this year, are sitting at 17-11. Second, Calgary, who lost badly to Florida today. I think it was like 5-6-2 or something like that.
Did you see I don't know. I don't think he really scored against his own team, but you see the highlight that Barstool posted when the defenseman for the Flames was trying to swat at the puck and then ended up knocking it past his own goaltender.
Oh boy.
No.
Today? It was today?
Yeah.
Oh
Tonight,
wow.
Yeah.
Really, they can't get out of their own way right now. Dude, ever since they got back from that massive COVID spike they had, they're not as good as they were. It's too bad, because Calgary was one of those teams I was kind of pulling for up there in Canada. And then you have, I'll cap it off with the Oilers, obviously, who sit in fourth right now with 38 points at 18-13. I They've been struggling a little bit lately, but the goaltending hasn't been the best, Chris. You talked about that. They have Smith, who is going to be coming back, and they have a couple of guys that we haven't really heard of in goal. And it's not just a goalie either. I mean, that just like the Bruins, that fourth line has been struggling for them lately, and they've just been giving up a lot of goals.
I think the other thing too, though, is losing McDavid and him being on the COVID list isn't going to help.
Yeah.
Too. Obviously, that's your number one player. So similar to like Boston, though, that team's going to have some of their players step up, and they're going to have to get scoring from all the lines to get that secondary scoring going.
It's okay. They just have some other guy named Leon Draisaitl. It's God, why are they? How did it get so How did Peter Chiarelli build that team? How?
I don't know how he built it. More of like he had the draft capital.
How did he get that?
They had like 4 or 5 first-round picks in a row.
It was insane.
It was like any of us three could do that. You know what I mean? In more or less, yeah, you end up with 2 good guys. How the hell don't you end up with like 5 or 6? Like, how is your top 6 forwards not just unbelievable?
Well, I mean, the Bruins had 3 straight picks in 2015, and we got all shit.
And we're calling for his head right now.
Exactly.
We're literally saying Sweeney, like,
yeah, Chiarelli's not up in Edmonton anymore, luckily, but I don't even think Chiarelli's anywhere right now.
I recommend watching on ESPN Plus the documentary that they have with Wayne Gretzky when he got traded. And that like backstory of like how it all went down, because I never really ever knew. And watching the documentary, it was interesting to kind of see that he was going to get a year when change left on his contract, and he ended up getting traded. And what he got traded for, and the money and everything else, it's a crazy story. It was kind of not how I thought Just think if he would have stayed there, how many more cups they would have won.
Yeah, and and it's just amazing that they haven't won anything with McDavid and Draisaitl. They just made it to the playoffs for the first time just a couple of years ago. So
the whole not to
go ahead
sidetrack, but the McDavid, there's reports out that McDavid is trying to test into being able to play tomorrow night or the night after or something. No idea how that works, but like I heard that on I think 98.5 as I was getting out of my car. I was like, how you literally just got placed on COVID.
Let alone Canada's very strict with their stuff lately.
This is crazy. But
our resident Toronto Maple Leafs fan, Allie, that lives in Ontario, I believe, they're now in quarantine again, thanks to the restrictions up there. But that being said, let's close out the show. Let's talk hot takes, penalty shots. It's been a little while. Kevin, we're going to start with you. So like I said earlier, Thursday, the Bruins will be hosting Minnesota, and then they're on the road for the next 2 leading up to our next show next Tuesday. So they'll be at Tampa Bay on Saturday and at Washington on Monday. Kevin, I'll let you go first. Chris, I'll let you go second, and I'll throw a little bit of a hot take in there too today.
This take's definitely gonna end. I'm gonna end up in the penalty box or whatever after this one. But
yes.
So the Bruins will go 2-1 in these 3-game stretch, except their loss is gonna come to Minnesota.
I knew you were gonna say that too. What?
Okay, they're gonna lose to Minnesota, get helped out by Tampa being shorthanded, and they're gonna win. They're gonna win the next 2.
So Chris, before I go to you, so Kevin's hot take obviously was, 2-1 on the trip, and then they sweep the 2 hardest games on that trip most likely.
Yep.
How much?
Why not?
How much time in the sin bin are we giving him next Tuesday if he's like way wrong on this?
I would go 2 minutes.
Just 2 minutes.
It's more of like that's an aggressive play. So I go 2 minutes for that.
Okay. What is yours, Chris, while we are on a roll with I don't know if you could top that one, but you could try.
Well, I think they need to go 2-1 in some capacity over the course of those 3 games. But I'd like to see Oscar Steen keep it going. So I'm going to say that he is going to in front of the home crowd, he's going to continue his point streak, and he's going to come out of this 3-game set with another. By the time these 3 games are over, he's going to have another 3 points. Add that, and I can see Trent Frederick. He's going to scrap with someone with the Capitals.
Oh, please tell me it's Tom Wilson.
I hope he does. I hope he pounds his face.
God, I hope he does. Oh, that'd be just don't go after Ovi. If there's anyone you don't go after, it's Ovi. Just
Ovi will kick the shit out of you too. Don't sleep on that guy. That guy.
No, that's what I'm saying. Don't go after Ovi because
you're
gonna get your shit rocked by. It's like if you go after Zdeno Chara, like don't be stupid. It's anyone that tries to fight Zdeno Chara makes me laugh because the last guy that tried to do it literally left the ice with blood all over his face. Like, how? At what point do you just tell yourself, I don't have the balls to do this, so I'm not gonna fight Zdeno Chara. I respect you, man. No, I'm gonna go. I'll give my hot take here before we close out. I'm gonna go. Jeremy Swayman is gonna get a shutout between either he's either gonna play against Washington or Tampa Bay. He's gonna get a shutout in one of those 2 games. I don't know which one, but it will be one of those 2 games because I don't know which ones he's starting, so I don't want to speculate. But he will get a shutout this weekend in one of those 2 games.
And then he should come on the podcast and talk about a shutout. If you can
yes. I'm still waiting for an answer. So let's, Jeremy, if you're watching this, hit us up. I doubt he watches this, but who knows? Maybe he does.
He could be one of the 6.
one of the few 6. So that's gonna close it out for us tonight. This has been Shorthanded Takes, a Boston Bruins podcast, episode 13. We'll be back next Tuesday to record our episode 14 podcast. Once again, we are brought to you by Couch Guys Sports, sponsored by Shocked Energy. Head over to shockedenergy.com and use promo code CGSN today for 10% off your order. We're also brought to you by Exogun Massage Guns. Once again, I'm Jeff Hoke. That's Kevin Berdios, and that's Chris Henrique. Happy New Year, guys. Welcome to the new year, 2022. Hopefully we'll be better than 2021. We don't know, but all we do know is the Bruins are off to a 3-0 start 2022. Everyone have a great night and see you guys next week.